Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really diving into something fascinating: how to make your messages actually stick. We're talking presentations, communications, basically anything where you need your idea to land and, be remembered. Our mission here is to pull out the key ideas from the art of crafting sticky stories to help you cut through the noise.
Yeah, and it's more than just sharing info, isn't it? It's about really connecting, making sure points aren't just heard, but remembered and acted on. This deep dive should give you some really practical tools for that.
Okay, so let's start with a really common problem. Why do so many messages, even well-intentioned ones, just fail? The source talks about this thing called the curse of knowledge. It was a bit of an aha moment for me,
Oh,
actually.
yeah, definitely.
It's basically when you know your topic so well, you kind of forget what it's like not to know it, and then your message ends up abstract, maybe full of jargon, basically incomprehensible to your audience.
Exactly. To you, the speaker, it seems dead simple, obvious even. But only to you. The whole point is bridging that gap, right? Getting inside your own head.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Our source gives us an antidote, a framework. It's called the Six CSS acronym. That's SUCCESS. Six principles: simplicity, unexpectedness, concreteness, credibility, emotions, and stories.
Your little package.
Let's unpack the first one. Simplicity. The source really hammers this home. It's about getting ruthless. Find the absolute core of your message. And it's not about dumbing things down. It's about distillation.
Finding that single most important thing.
Because if you try to say everything is important, well, then nothing really stands out, does it?
No, it just becomes noise. The source has this brilliant comparison. You take some verbose corporate mission statement, you know the type, full of buzzwords.
Oh, yeah. Synergize best-in-class solutions.
Exactly. Compare that to JFK's goal.
Mm.
Put a man on the moon and return him safely by the end of the decade.
Wow, talk about clarity.
All right, so the question for you, listening, is what's your one core point? Are you brave enough to focus on just that?
Okay, so you've got your simple core message. Now what? How do you get people to even notice it? That's unexpectedness. The idea is to grab attention first, maybe by surprising people, breaking a pattern.
Rattling their expectations a bit.
Yeah. And then, crucially, you have to sustain that interest. You do that by sparking curiosity.
And one technique the source mentions is opening up gaps in people's knowledge. You pose a question, maybe highlight something they don't know.
Ah, so you make them aware of a little mystery?
Exactly. And then you guide them towards filling that gap. Turns listening into more of a journey, less passive.
Makes sense. But even a simple, surprising idea can feel a bit floaty if it's not grounded. Which brings us to concreteness. This is about being specific, vivid, definite.
Using real language, not abstraction.
Right. Use examples people can almost touch or see in their minds. Avoid that vague corporate speak.
Think about proverbs, like kill two birds with one stone. It's so concrete, isn't it?
Yeah, you can picture it immediately.
Compare that to saying optimizing resource allocation for multi-objective scenarios.
Ha! No comparison. One sticks, the other puts you to sleep.
Precisely. Concrete language is clearer, it's concise, it shows consideration for your audience, it helps memory.
Okay, so simple, unexpected, concrete. But do people believe you?
Yeah.
That's credibility. And it's not just about dumping a load of data on people.
No, definitely not.
It's about giving numbers context, making them meaningful, helping people visualize what the data actually represents.
The source suggests using, reliable sources, maybe client quotes, or even tying it to recent news.
Good point. And it warns against those long, boring company histories. Nobody cares.
Right. But something else that builds credibility, maybe subtly, is showing you understand your audience. Like demonstrating you know their needs, their preferences. It builds common ground.
Ah, so it shows you've done your homework on them, not just your topic.
Exactly. It makes them trust you more, and it really amplifies the impact.
And speaking of impact, emotions. The source is clear. Humans are emotional creatures. You got to make them feel something.
Yeah, logic alone often isn't enough to drive action.
And images are powerful here, right? Even images without people can create a really visceral connection.
Absolutely. They can bypass the analytical brain, hit you right in the gut sometimes.
But there's a balance, isn't there? You don't want to seem like you're, manipulating people emotionally.
That's the art. It's about empathy. Finding that sweet spot, like a recipe, mixing the right amount of emotional appeal with the intellectual stuff. Not too much, not too little.
Got it. And the final principle, which kind of ties a lot of this together, is stories. Storytelling feels so natural, so compelling, and definitely easier to remember than a list of rules.
It really is. What's fascinating here is how our brains seem wired for narrative. We remember experiences, sequences of events. A story is the perfect vehicle to wrap an idea in an emotion, make it truly memorable.
So often we just present facts, bullet points.
Yeah, data dumps. We miss the chance to weave a narrative, but put a fact inside an experience, a story, and suddenly it sticks.
The source goes deeper into storytelling, talking about the hero and the adversary. Like a hero could be your team, a user. The adversary might be old ways of thinking or a competitor.
Understanding those roles helps you frame the message to inspire action, not just inform.
So what makes a story really compelling? What are the key ingredients?
Well, a big one is conflict. Conflict is drama, right? It's that tension between what the audience expects or wants and the reality.
So don't hide the problems.
No, foreground them. Show the struggle, then show how it was overcome. That's engagement. Think about a detective story, the mystery, the clues, the chase. That's the conflict.
Okay, conflict. What else?
Raising the stakes. Why should the audience care?
Yeah.
What are the consequences?
So it's not just we fixed a bug.
Right. It's we fixed a bug that was costing us X dollars or eroding customer trust. You got to make the outcome matter.
How do you do that effectively?
The source suggests brainstorming consequences. Ask yourself, and then what? Focus on the big stakes: money, risk, security, maybe even pain points. And sometimes hold back the resolution until the end. Build that tension.
Nice. Anything else?
Contrasts. Our brains are wired to notice differences, before and after, problem and solution, old way versus new way.
So highlighting those differences makes the message pop.
Exactly. It makes it more vivid, more memorable. We notice the change, the deviation.
The source actually gives 3 pretty simple steps for using these ideas in almost any presentation. 1, identify the problem, what was wrong. 2, identify the causes, show the conflict, give examples. 3, show how and why it was solved, the resolution.
And that sequential nature is key, isn't it? This happened, then this happened, and so this resulted.
It's that narrative flow.
Yeah. And stories, especially if they had that emotional element we talked about, they just get remembered so much better than lists. Our brains latch onto them.
Which brings us neatly to authenticity. The source really stresses this. Don't try to be someone you're not.
People see right through it.
Yeah, it feels fake, and then they doubt everything you say. So be real. Know your stuff, obviously. Use language that's natural to you, conversational, maybe passionate if you feel it, but down to earth.
Be yourself, just, prepared.
Right.
And this raises that important question again. Why bother with a presentation at all? Why not just email the facts? People want something more human, don't they?
They want the story behind the facts.
Exactly. That mix of information, emotion, the visuals you create in their minds, the anecdotes, that human connection piece.
And a huge part of that connection is the storyteller's voice. A voice that's natural, conversational, maybe shows some passion. It's just so much easier to listen to.
Way easier than someone reading in a monotone, formal style. Your brain doesn't have to work so hard just to stay engaged.
Absolutely. It's all part of making that human connection. So let's quickly recap. These 6 ES principles, simplicity, unexpectedness, concreteness, credibility, emotions, and stories, these are really powerful tools. Tools to make your ideas sticky, to make them resonate. Remember, it's rarely just about the facts. It's about the connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you have something to communicate, try brainstorming that core message first, then maybe storyboard it out. Think about the narrative. Show some restraint. Don't try to cram everything in. Keep coming back to that core. The real power lies in that human connection and the story you choose to tell.
And here's something for you to mull over. Think about your next communication challenge, big or small. What's just one element from 6 CSs or one storytelling technique we discussed that you could focus on right away to make that message land better, resonate more deeply?